Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Black and White United Show. I'm your host, Andreas. Thank you so much for tuning in with me this morning. In this video, we're going to review our wonderful and gutsy performance against Adelaide at the MCG on Saturday afternoon. Roll the intro.
0, 1. Let's get started.
Today's video is brought to you by New Homes Victoria, your local builder. Make sure you give them a like and a follow on Instagram. So this performance was nothing but just a gutsy effort against, what I thought was a pretty decent opposition. I think Adelaide obviously will make the finals this year. I think they're anywhere between 4th and 7th, around that sort of mark on the ladder. The way they played against us, they continuously tried to challenge us, and I've said this before. How good is it where you've got sides that you usually struggle against, or you always battle well against, and they challenge you and you just respond to every single challenge that they were throwing out at us on Saturday afternoon. I knew on the train on the way to the game when it was raining, this had just a Collingwood performance all over it, and we got one. Look, do I think that Collingwood played the greatest game on the weekend? No. There were times where, running into the forward line, and even breaking out the middle, we just couldn't find our rhythm at times. There was one stage, I think it might have been in the third quarter, we got the ball, or in the last quarter, we got the ball and we took it out from our defence into our forward line. We had a clear opportunity to either pass it or kick it straight forward for goal. We stuffed it up. Adelaide brought it back forward, and I think Fogarty scored a goal from it. I thought Dawson from Adelaide was fantastic for them. Really troubled us all day. Didn't light it up, but he just had key moments within the game and obviously kicked a crucial goal towards the end. But for us, I can go quarter by quarter by quarter, and we can review the whole thing in depth, but really there's no point. At the end of the day, it was neck and neck. It was almost goal for goal. We ended up doing what we usually do when we got 20 points up, in that late in the third quarter or at the start of the last, and then the other team sort of gets a bit of a roll on. Happened obviously against Bulldogs. It happened against Fremantle. It happened against Geelong and we lost it, and it's happened again against the Adelaide Crows. We sort of have to really kill sides when that opportunity comes. I think it's the only part of the game that we are lacking. Our goal kicking was pretty good on the weekend. I didn't think it was that bad. Just a couple of standout players, I thought. Bo McCreary didn't get, 20, 30 possessions or whatever it was, but his persistence around the footy, his pressure and stuff was fantastic. That tackle that he did on Rankin, which I want to get to that in a second, but, he did the tackle, applied the pressure, got hold of the ball, and has kicked a great goal. Jamie Elliott, I thought, was fantastic. Same with Bobby Hill. They presented, obviously, with McStay out now for until after the bye. You're going to notice these smaller forwards are going to play as a potential extra tall forward, which is probably what you need at times, depending on obviously the situation of the game. Mason Cox subbed off again. I do think that was the right decision. Their talls, Adelaide talls towards the end of the game, apart from Fogarty, didn't really have much of an impact. Taking off Cox was probably the right decision, also considering that Adelaide had taken off another tall in Tex Walker. So really, it was just matching the situation as the game went on, which I thought was great. Now, I'm going to say it again, and it's so frustrating, but the umpiring decisions, and I'm going to pick out a couple of instances for both sides, well, really one each, which I think was just, so people understand who are not Collingwood supporters that watch my videos, that I've got a realistic view of these things, not just biased from a Collingwood angle. The decision, there was one decision in the middle of the ground. I think it was when either McCreary or Sullivan had tackled an Adelaide player. It was in the third quarter. The Adelaide player has incorrectly disposed of the ball. It was blindly obvious. It was on the opposite side of the ground from where I was sitting. And the Adelaide players tackled it, and he's literally just thrown it up. Didn't get a fist on it, nothing. There's two umpires right there, didn't pay it. It's incorrect disposal, so obviously that needs to be, holding the ball decision or whatever you want to call it. So it happened a couple of times throughout the game.
and it was happened to be when we were tackling. And just on that too, our tackling pressure was fantastic against Adelaide. The other decision that I thought was a bit unfair, and I'm going to cop a little bit of hate here from Collingwood supporters, but in the laws of the game, I don't think it's holding the ball. The one where Bo McCreary has tackled Isaac Rankin. Now, if you watch that, and I didn't think it in real time when I watched it, and that happened directly in front of me. I was sitting on level 2A, and it was right there in front of me. I could see it. Rankin, who, it couldn't have happened to a better bloke, let's be honest though. He's got the ball and he's bounced it. He was tackled as the ball was bouncing back up to him. He never actually had complete control and possession of the ball. The umpire is directly in front, 5 meters away from him. He is tackled without actually holding the ball, and the umpire has paid holding the ball. Now, as a Collingwood supporter, we don't get those very often so close to goal. McCreary was able to go on the boundary line and snap it through for a goal. Happy days, fantastic. As a football person, I remember when that happened, I turned to my old man and I said, that's not a free kick. Like, I'll take it 100%, right? Because we never get the easy ones in front of goal. But you watch it in slow motion. I don't understand what the umpires are thinking. He never had complete control of the ball. Anyway, I'm saying this so people understand that I'm looking at it from a broader perspective, not just from a Collingwood supporter point of view. The Collingwood part of me is like, thank God we got a free kick, close to goal, and they actually paid a hole in the ball, because there was so many during the game that they probably should have paid. And in the big scheme of things, it was probably an even or upper, so whatever. You take it. I thought our backline did stand up. Fogarty gave us a fair bit of pressure throughout the whole game, and he obviously converted pretty well on the scoreboard. Tex was okay early and then got subbed off. It wasn't even okay. His presence was a contributing factor to probably Fogarty playing the type of game that he did. Our defence with Darcy Moore out, Jeremy Howe and Billy Frampton were absolutely fantastic. I thought IQ was a little bit not himself as he usually is, but he still did the stuff that he needed to do. He presented, he got the ball, he carried with it. He was good at times. There was some times where I thought maybe even with his spoils, the direction of where the ball was going to, he probably could have sorted that out a bit better. But I mean, that's just me being really picky and fussy. But Billy Frampton, mate, what a revolution he's been since coming into our side after McGuinness went down. I just think it's really good to see finally we've got, a backman that can back up Darcy Moore and Jeremy Howe. And to be fair, there was a contest that he went into in the last quarter in front of the MCC members, and it was him one-on-one with another player. And then obviously I think Quainer came in and helped him out. And it was the first time, even though Billy Frampton's played good games, it was the first time where Frampton went into a contest one-on-one against a decent forward, and I was comfortable. I wasn't shitting myself. I wasn't thinking to myself, oh God, we're going to turn this over or whatever. I was comfortable. He got the ball, he sidestepped the opponent, and his hand passed it out, and we've run out, and we've set ourselves up for another scoring opportunity. So credit to Billy Frampton. He's been absolutely fantastic since coming in. Best on ground for me in this game is Josh Dacos. The good part about us winning in the last couple of games is Nick hasn't been a player where you've watched him and you've been like, oh my God, he set the world on fire. He's been heavily tagged. So they're worrying, other teams are worrying so much to bring him out of the game, where now the movement is, if you've watched, especially in the first quarter, was for Nick Dacos to go into the half forward line. So he went into contest, he became that extra 5th, 6th midfielder, but he pushed back up forward, and which means the guys who were tagging him, he was actually bringing them out of the play, which means we'll just had a midfield doing its job the whole time. That allows players like Josh Dacos, Jack Crisp, and all these other guys to step up. Ned Long, fantastic game by Ned Long. I thought he was going to get 35 possessions. He didn't, but every possession he got was pretty much effective, So It's good to say that we're still winning games and we're still doing stuff with the likes of Nick Dacos not influencing the game as much as what he usually does when he's got 100% time in the midfield. Josh, by far, best on ground for me. His ball handling in the wet was fantastic. The way that he was attacking the play, taking it first grab, and he was going was great. Dan Houston, I thought, had a good game. I've been a little bit critical of him since obviously making the move over. I think he's only really had that one standout game against Port Adelaide. Obviously, he served his suspension against GWS, then came in for 2 and then got rubbed out for 2 or whatever. So it's been a bit shaky, him obviously not having that consistent footy at the start. But now that he is playing that consistent footy, I actually thought his game was okay. However, the last 2 games in particular that he's played, I thought his ball handling, and you've got to understand, I know I've got to understand, like, it's wet. It was a wet game. That's fair enough. But just a couple of times on the first grab, you've got to just take the ball on the first time. He's a little bit fumbly, overrunning the ball and stuff like that. But on the flip side, when he's got the ball and he's passing and he's doing stuff, his decision making is elite. It's elite. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if you're supposed to play in the back pocket. I don't think you're supposed to play on half-back flank. I think you're an outright midfielder, which we didn't pick you up for that. We've got Ned Long doing the job. We've got Tom Mitchell coming in soon, which that's going to cause a whole bunch of headaches as well. Dan Houston must play on the half-back and work his way into the game work his way into the midfield exactly the same way Nick Dacos was when he started dominating, especially in that later part of 22, early part of 23, where he was standing on the half-back line and he was pushing in. That is the role for Dan Houston at our club, as is the opposite, the half-forward pushing into the middle. That's the role for Bo McCreary. You can have that, and you can have them both coming in. It's elite. If it works, it works. But from what I can see on the field, that's how it needs to be. The more deeper he plays down back, you're sort of taking him out of the game too much. And I think he needs to work his way into the game and then get the ball and bomb it long while you've got someone like Josh Dacos who can carry it in. Anyway, I'm going off topic here. I'm just ranting and raving and stuff a little bit. All in all, fantastic performance. Wet weather footy. It was grueling. It was very similar to the Carlton game at times, where it was just a crash bash contest. There was that start of that third quarter. There was a bit of a lull in the game. It was a bit boring. It was, nothing was really happening. And then obviously it sort of picked up from there. Umpiring, I thought, was pretty bang on average. Wasn't the worst game, but it was bang on average. Looking ahead to the North Melbourne game, excuse me, and seeing what North produced against Richmond and seeing what North produced against Brisbane the week before. I mean, I'll say this in my preview, which will be coming up pretty much, I think, on Thursday. This is not a walk in the park game for us. This is a typical Collingwood game. We're playing at Marvel, and that we can bottle. And I know there'll be North Melbourne supporters that watch this. I know there'll be other Collingwood supporters that watch it. I think, are you serious? Look, we'll probably win, but I've just want to be cautious that it's not that West Coast round 3 game in 2022 where they beat us at Marvel. That's what you've got to worry about. I just don't want them to take it too lightly. Get your stars in. Lockie Schultz, if he's fine, put him in. If Darcy Moore's ready, put him in. Play our best side, because they jumped us really early last year. And to be fair to them, they probably should have beaten us last year at Marvel. So I know we're a completely different side, but it's still, again, a danger game. The 4 blocks that I spoke about last week, the first game we've won. We've got North obviously next week. We've got Hawthorn, and then we've got Melbourne. I honestly think that we can go 4 from 4 from them, but 3 from 4 is a fantastic effort. We've already knocked off one, which was probably one of the hardest ones. So if we can get through North, we can almost have a free hit against Hawthorn, and then obviously win King's birthday and go into the bye, sitting first or second on the ladder with, healthy percentage. So make sure you drop a comment, tell me what you think, call it as you see it, and as always, go the Pies.